Hey, I'm Will from Cardboard Mate. I'm going to be playing Lewis and Clark: The Expedition. This game was designed by Cédrick Chaboussit and with artwork by Vincent Dutrait and published by Ludonaute. And in this game, we are taking place of rival expeditions. This is based kind of loosely on the Lewis and Clark expedition, from when Thomas Jefferson sent them to explore and map some of the western portions of the United States after Louisiana Purchase from Napoleon. And we are essentially racing to get to the western shore and set up camp there first. This is a worker placement style game with some interesting hand and card management, and it comes down to a race. So let's begin. I will teach you how to play the game. I'll explain how the solo works. I'll play through a full solo game and then give my review afterwards. So here I am set up for a solo game. For a multiplayer game, you would ignore these little tokens that have been placed out around the board, but the gameplay is pretty much the same. And I will go over the differences when I cover the solo part. So, as I mentioned, this is a kind of hand management worker placement game. You are taking an action on your turn, and you may also set up a camp at either the beginning or the end of your turn. And you'll be going around and around doing this until one player has crossed the finish line here at Fort Clatsop and has set up camp successfully at or past Fort Clatsop. Here we have, normally we would start at St. Louis, but I have the AI starting a little bit ahead. We have worker placement spots shown by circles on the board, with larger circles being usable by any number of players, but smaller circles can only have a single Indian placed there. And there's essentially two different actions you could do in your turn. Either you can place a native into the camp, or you can play a card from your hand. So the American Indians will provide lots of different resources to help you get through. And then your hand represents the actual expedition members who you will take advantage of for various actions throughout the game. So first to go over what a card looks like. So each card has two different very important sides. They are multi-use cards. Each player will start off with a identical deck of their own cards. There is a resource colored symbol in the top right corner, a action strength on the left, which really is just to remind you of what's on the opposite side of the card. And then there's the actual action itself. Occasionally, if you are having trouble with looking up how a character works, the manual will cover each character card by name and with easy reference to numbers for these other cards, as well as a little bit of history for who the character is. Since this is all based on true history, you can actually read about that in the manual, which is pretty cool. And the opposite side has, again, the card action strength symbols again, and some reminder symbols for tools and time, which we'll see how this works. This is the second edition of the game, which has revised a little bit of the timing mechanic. But this is the version that is commonly found now. So this is why I'm teaching and explaining this version. And while I've read some of the differences between the two, I quite like this version and how it handles resources and time. I think it's quite thematic. So, taking actions. First, let's cover the native board. So you've got your own personal board where you can store resources and store natives. Same deal, there is a small circle which can hold one, or a large circle which can hold many. When you are taking a Native American Indian action on the board, you can either place out one, native meeple into one of the small circles, or place a number of them at once out into the bigger circles in order to take those actions. So very simply, we have locations to gather resources, some with some choices. We have ways to buy canoes, to buy horses, to buy a board extension, which these are double-sided. You can either build another canoe, or a carrier, or long canoe, I guess. And we have a place where we can refresh some of the cards in the action slot, as well as remove cards from your hand. And one thing that is important to take note in this game is that because you want your expedition to be as streamlined as possible, you don't want to carry too much excess gear or people, because that will slow you down, as you see when we explain the camp phase. So at any point in the game, you can always choose to do less of an action. So you still have to pay any costs associated, but you can always choose to not take the full amount of resources or not discard the full amount of cards, etc. But of course, this doesn't cover the costs. You still have to pay whatever costs are associated with the action. So this is the reason behind things like discarding from your hand, basically removing them from the game up to 0 to 3 cards from your hand. All right, so this action, what it allows you to do is allows you to copy an action card that has been played anywhere on the table, but with only a strength of 1. But this could allow you to take advantage of a card that someone else has on the board. And then, so that's all the native actions. Once a meeple is in the location, it will stay there until it is recruited, which you'll see from the card actions, and essentially blocking the spots. So how card actions work, like I said, everyone starts off with a hand of the same kind of cards. And what you do is when you're going to play a card for actions, at first you have to understand that the cards, while they are face up, do not add any strength to the card. Essentially, they're a strength of 0 of how much of the action you can do. So you always have to increase that up to a maximum of 3 by either tucking additional cards behind it. For example, here we have a strength of 1. I could bring it all the way up to a full strength of 3, or I can add natives from my expedition to fill in those locations, meaning that you can, again, bring the action up to a strength of 3. You cannot perform an action at a strength of 0. It just won't work. So let's see, I play this action. That means I get to do the action 1 time, or again, twice if I have boosted it. And then you do whatever this action is. Now you'll see a lot of the actions will have arrows below them pointing to down and to left and right. That means that essentially you're looking around the table at your left side and your right side and yourself. So the players around you and yourself, and you are adding up all of the symbols that match that. And these symbols are found at the tops of cards, including cards that were tucked underneath for actions. And this gives you a strength. So if there were, for example, if I had this card and my neighbors had none, the action would be collect wood 2 times, or rather collect 2 wood, but then since I have a strength of 2, I would do that twice. So getting a total of 4 wood. So those are your basic actions, is collecting resources, and you have a card that represents each of those, including tools. You also have a card for traveling. So traveling will show either water or mountain locations and how far you move along those. You cannot save your movement. You would have to move the entirety of that action all at once, and then any extra that is wasted. So for example, if I gave this a strength of 2 and paid a canoe and a horse, it would give me 4 water and 2 mountain movements. But I cannot split that on either side. So if I only had 2 water movements, I would not be able to use the other 2 water movement on the opposite side of the mountain range. I'd have to use the water and then the mountain, and then more additional water from a different action. And the last of the basic cards you start with is the recruitment card. And I highly advise you not to get rid of this card when you are drafting new ones. So how this one works is that all the natives that are on the map here are going to gather into the central circle, and then you can take as many as you like from there and add them to your expedition. And then you will move the card row down and discard the bottom one. So recruiting new cards. This is a large part of the game, is in getting new actions. So on your turn, you may also recruit a new character card. Again, this can be done before or after your main action, or not at all. And you would pay the cost in tools shown by the number of the strength, right? So a strength 2 would cost 2 tools. And then you would also pay the amount of leather or of a fur, sorry, the amount of fur shown by the numbers. And the number will increase so that the cards that have been out for longer will be cheaper. And so you can either pay those directly by paying the tools, or you can discard permanently, like into the discard pile from your hand, unused cards, and you would essentially redeem a tool for each of those symbols you find. Some are worth more than others, as you can see here. And then that card would come into your hand. And these add a variety of new effects that will do things like allow you to change different resources into things, and more flexibility in recruiting, or in gathering or movements, or allows for quite a lot of additional play opportunities and combos for you to build getting these cards. So it's very good to build up your deck. But again, you don't want too many, and you'll see why, because you don't win the game unless you make camps. Camps is also how you gain your cards back from your collection. So say we've played some cards out. I'm just going to put out a couple of examples here. And maybe this guy is here. And he's there. Oops. So I have a couple of actions, examples of some cards. Say I wish to make a camp at this point. So first, you're going to look at time tokens. Now, you'll see in a minute why time tokens are important. So time tokens, you will take one for every symbol that you qualify for. So unplayed cards each have a time unit on it. You draw one of these time tokens. And then so you get a timer for those. You would put any natives back onto your board. Remember, your small canoe can hold one, but the other ones would have to sit in the large canoe. And you see there's time trackers all along the main board here. You can essentially hold 3 resources for free at no cost of time here. If you have any number of resources in this medium-sized boat, any number of them, and you will take 1 time unit. But in the large cargo ship here, you would take 1 time unit per resource you have. Similarly, you would take 1 time unit per native you have in the large canoe. Now, remember, I mentioned you can expand boat types. This would allow you to have a free native when you buy this tile, but also a slot to hold a native without a time unit, or 2 free resources when you buy it, and a place to store 2 resources and no additional cost of time units. So expanding your expedition to include more small boats is definitely beneficial. Now, why the time units are necessary is because before you can make a single step of movement, you have to pay a time unit and remove 1 unit of movement. So before you can even do a step. So back to that previous example, if I'm doing 4 water movement and 2 mountains, and I have 2 time tokens, I'd have to get rid of the 2 time tokens by spending my first 2 movements to remove those, and then I'd be left with say 2 water and 2 mountains afterwards. So very important. Also, this is a marker for how the end of the game works. Essentially, if you have to set up a camp past or on the flag here, and there are numbers beside those showing that if you set up camp there, but then gain that many or less time tokens, then you still win the game. If you gained more time tokens than that, you'd have to get rid of them until you had down to that number in order to win. All right, and that is it for the multiplayer game. As for the solo, we have laid out these tokens that have little pictures on the back of them, and it's not super clear based on the instructions, but you essentially just match up the pictures with the location and place it there. And you will have an opponent who starts off between 0 and 7 spaces ahead. I'm going to be playing at 3 spaces ahead. I feel like that's a kind of a medium difficulty game. And so what's going to be different here is that after each of your turns, your opponent will automatically move 1 space. So they are going to be constantly moving ahead. And if they reach the flag first, then your opponent wins. If you, of course, meet their usual objectives for winning, then you win. Now, the reason for the tokens is if you have natives around the board and you go to do a resource collection, so say for in the case of this one here, any native that is at a spot that has one of these tokens will count as an active token as if your neighbors had it for your action. So again, in this case, we would count 1, 2, 3 fur symbols. Of course, if these natives get returned to the middle or recruited for whatever reason, they are no longer at those locations. And that is how you play the solo game. Of course, if you choose, you can also change up the map a little bit by adding additional tokens, but we're going to play with just the basic game right here. Now to start. So we're going to be in constant pressure here to stay ahead of this guy. This purple explorer is going to keep moving after every single thing we do. We don't start off with a lot of resources. It might be best to gain some cards. I think the first one, the partisan, is going to be kind of useless because my neighbors won't have any cards. So I might ignore him. Changing a resource for 2 other resources could be good. 2 tools for mountain. 3 different resources for 5 water could be quite strong, but that's pretty far away. So I don't think I'm going to go quite there yet. But I do have some natives, and I think maybe the time to just start recruiting some things. So let's work towards getting some canoes first, I think, and maybe even upgrading a little bit. So let's start by playing off the native over here, getting 2 wood. Remember, you don't have to calculate time until you decide to actually start moving, and then he's going to advance by 1. All right, so that is all of my natives. I do have a kind of a loaded location here for some fur. So maybe I'll play fur. I don't really need the wood card right now because I just got some wood. And we want to boost it once more. What can I do with fur? I can't really do a whole lot with fur right now. Unless I get the conversion. Well, I can certainly buy things. So let's do this twice then. Let's pump it up a little bit. So here we're going to get 1, 2, and do it twice. So that is 4 fur resources. Remember, you don't ever have to spend the entire amount. And then he moves ahead. And then I think maybe it's best to get some gray. You know, I need to be able to recruit still. So let's recruit some natives here. Okay, I'm going to play this action next. We are going to pull these natives in the middle, and I'm going to take them both. And we're going to refill the slot down here and drop off the first card, which is going to make things a little cheaper. And our new option is a strength 3, a native, and any resource to move 2 in the mountains. That could be pretty good. And I think now that I have some more natives, let's see, let's build a canoe. Yeah, let's go in here, spend the 3 wood, and let's grab the storage here for some more of my resources. And that comes with 2 freebies. So we're gonna grab a couple of gray, a couple of tools, I think. And that moves ahead. And let's see here. I have still 1 native. I'll probably need him to use this card. I am going to. Well, I could buy that one. It's kind of a better version. But I think for now, let's go for the water. I think maybe the water movements. It's kind of better. Then I can pretty much ignore canoes and just blitz using massive amounts of resources. So I think on my turn, I'm going to spend 2 of those and 3 fur to recruit the Kutsenum. And then I'm going to play this action. Oops. Let's see, for the gray resource. And we're going to gather, let's see, 1. And that's it. So we're going to gather 1 gray, or 1 gray, 1 tool twice. And then he's going to move. And let's slide these down. And basic resource, that's not especially good. Now I may want a better card, but I think at this point I might set up camp. I haven't really gone anywhere yet, but I do need to get my cards back. So I could set up camp. Now I probably want to set up camp before I recruit a card, otherwise it's going to cost me. Or, I mean, I could just buy a card and then worry about that later. I do have enough resources to buy the mountain movement card. Who is that? That is Whoosh. Card number 33. So this is pay 2 equipment. Move your scout as many spaces forward in the mountains as there are visible equipment badges in the cards of your playing area and your 2 neighbors' playing area. In a solo game, count the equipment badges in your playing area and those in occupied villages. So that's interesting. Be able to move based on gray. I only have 1 gray symbol, but I could load up essentially 2 more and get some easy mountain movements. That's an interesting card. I am actually going to buy that. Well, I can't use it right now. Okay, so I'm going to set up camp first. So I have nothing that's going to take up time, and all my cards are played. So everything can return to my hands. And now I'm going to recruit this character. Let's see what comes out. A canoe for 5 water movement. Okay, it's better than this standard move. I do need to move though. I have not really moved yet. So I do have the NA3 resource for water movement, which I should probably get to. I don't really have any resources out right now. We have 1 dude on the wood spots. So maybe let's collect some wood with, I'm gonna need that canoe card. I need the native. I don't need the mountain card for a while. So let's Let's spend this here. Find sometimes you want to kind of go big if you can, just to load things up. Oh, or do I want to place out? No, I think I'm going to go that. So 1, 2 wood twice. So that's 4 wood. 2, 3, 4. And of course, you can redistribute these before you play and move him up. He's getting away. I got to catch him. Let's see here. Let's send our native out to maybe get some food. Some food and a fur. So a few different resources now. And then he's going to move ahead again. I'm lagging behind here, but I'm about to blast ahead. I just need to get some more sets of resources here. All right, put the native cards. These guys all pool in the middle, and I'm going to take all 3, replenish, and then he moves. He's getting away. He's getting away. What am I going to do? Let's see. I can essentially play this once. If I get some more food, I can do it twice. And I think it's, you want grays? Do I have grays out yet? You don't. Oh, and I lost my natives from here. Wood, I don't need woods. Sure, let's do this and pick up some fur. 1, 2, 3 fur. Fur, and then he moves, and then I'm running out of space. Let's go and get here a tool and a wood. He moves up again, and then here we go. Time to race. We're going to do this action 3 times, spend 3 different resources for 5 water. So we've got wood, gray, and a fur. So wood tool and a fur, wood, fur, and a meat, wood, fur, and a tool. So we're going to move 15 spaces in the water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, jump 12, 13, 14, 15. You jump over characters when you move. So I have now blasted ahead in one huge move. And I have essentially spent everything I have, which is perfect because now I can make camp and I have no time. Oh, wait, no, I do have time now because these natives are going to come back to me. One is going to sit in the big canoe, so I have to take 1 time marker. But I do get all of my cards back to me, which is good. And then he'll move ahead. So I'm going to be looking at moving on land pretty soon. I'm going to have to collect that soon. Right, where's my mouth movement? I'm gonna have to use my mouth movement soon, but it's gonna cost me a couple of grays, which is, there is 1 out there right now. Do I want to load up another one? I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll just go buy some more tools right now. So this will give me 2 tools, and let's see, what don't I need right now? I don't really need wood. So that's 4 tools. But I kind of need some water movement too. I'm not quite on the edge yet. I mean, if I time it right, I can wait and leap over him. So do I get 4? Maybe I want to go farther. Maybe I want to go all the way for 6. Let's let's do that. So we're going to collect 2 times 3. We're going to collect 6, 2, 3, 4, 6 tools. This strategy I'm doing with these massive turns is probably not recommended. It can definitely blow up in your face. So 6, and then he's going to move. And essentially I need to find 2 more actions to do until he leapfrogs me. And then I can leapfrog him and move just in the mountains. So I need to be able to boost this by a fair amount first. So I can essentially do that there. I might need more natives. Okay, let's play my native gathering card here. All right, so all these guys. Oh no, I need the gray symbols. I need the gray symbols. Unless I want to go back and get more. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I will. So I'll do that. These guys are in the middle. I will recruit them both, and then we reload here, and then he moves 1. Okay, we're almost ready to go. Now I'll reload this one for a tool and a wood. So I'm getting pretty loaded down here. And then he is going to go and he's going to leapfrog me. So good timing here. And then I'm going to play this at strength 3. And I'm going to be moving 1, 2, and spend excuse me, 6 tools to do this 3 times. So I'm going to take 6 mode movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and then he's going to move 1. And I kind of need to move a couple more in the mountain, but I can't. If I recall now, oh wait, sorry, 1 less, because I forgot to spend the time. Sorry about that. So I do need to move a little more in the mountains. I'm not quite ready yet. Horse, what was a horse? I think horse is 2. So I'm not really there. Let's go and maybe we'll build a canoe. Oh, or I just want to go for horses? Let's just go get a horse. So 3 different resources. For horse. Okay, then he's going to move. And then, where do I want to go next? I could do it again. If I recall now, I'm going to take a time. I don't really want to do that right now. Oh, I could reuse location, strength 1, reuse an action. That probably would have been good before this turn, because while I still had grays left, while I still had tools, I probably could have done that again and moved 2 more. That wouldn't have quite got me there yet. So I need another horse somehow. Let's go and get, I guess, just a variety of stuff here. So meat and a wool. Okay, he's going to move. And I'm going to do a recall. So my 1 native on my card comes back. And my hand comes back to me. And I'm going to do the horse action again and spend 3 different resources to get another horse. All right, now he's going to move. And I think to stay ahead of him, I'm going to go ahead and do it now. And here we go, take this action. And we're going to spend 2 horses for 4 mountain movements because we have 2 actions here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is going to be good because that will combo well as my 5 water movement card because there are 5 water left. So hopefully that will get us where we need to go. Okay, and then he's going to move. And now I need to start getting cards again. Maybe we get some natives. I am very low. Do I need natives for early? I mean, they're good for boosting actions. But there's so many right now, I'm never going to need them all. So let's start getting some resources. Okay, if I go get some wood, nope, meat. That's going to give me 1, 2 meat. Do I want 2 meat or do I want to boost it some more? I might boost it a little bit more here. So it's going to give me 4 meat. Okay, and then he moves. And then let's go get some. I'm not going to have actions to do this with. Okay, I do need to get some natives. Otherwise, I will be just resting, which I think I can afford to rest. Oh no, I'm going to be taking a penalty. Okay, let's go get some natives. So these guys all pool in the middle. And I'm going to take, let's see, 1, 2, I need 1 for this. I need 1 for different action. Okay. I really want more than that. He's gonna jump me in 2. So I think that's probably okay there. Okay, so he's gonna move. And now I'm going to go over here and gain 2 fur. And then he's gonna move again. And then I'm gonna play my movement action for 1 and spend 3 different resources. Food, fur, and wood to move 5 in the water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's keeping me ahead in the game here, which is good. And then I'm going to rest here. And I have enough room to rest when native comes back. And let's grab all my cards back. I think, did I move him? Maybe I didn't. Okay, move. Sorry, I'm losing track. I can't remember if I moved him or not. And okay, I need to cross the mountains again. Oh, you know what? I think I forgot to clear that when I got my natives. Again, apologies for the rules goofs. Oh, that could be good. I don't have the tools though. But I could lose some cards in my hand to get some. Okay, let's go get. Yeah, there's no more mountains after this. Or I can do the same. You know, I'm gonna stick with the same combo. Let's go and get some gray tokens here. So let's go 1, 2. Strength 2 would give me only the ability to do it once. I need to do it a little bit more than that, I think. Although I do have one native, so I think this should be okay. So that's 2. Okay, and then he moves. And now let's place my native out here for another tool. Oh, you know what? No, sorry about that. I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. And put that in a second time for an additional 1. Okay, then I'm going to put my native here and take 1 and 1 and move him. And then we're going to go and play this card action here for strength of 2. And we are going to pay, so we're going to do the action twice. So we're going to be moving 2 mountains because there's 1, 2 grays. And I'm going to do it twice. So it's going to cost me 4 tools, but I only get to move 3 of the mountains. And then he catches up. And, oh, you know what? Oh, you know what? Okay, here. I think maybe we have it. Spend this for 3 different resources for food and wood to move 5 in the water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to set up camp. And well, I mean, he moves 1. But then that's it. I have 0 time tokens, and I have just barely inched across the finish line at a record speed ahead of him. It was great. Well, that went very smoothly. So let's head back, and I will give my review. And that was Lewis and Clark: The Expedition. So this has quickly become a game that I have very much enjoyed playing at multiple player counts. The solo is a nice little puzzle because it does allow you to kind of set yourself up for some good moves. I was playing at a medium difficulty. Is a 3 out of a 7, so lower medium, and I happened to get some combos and things that worked extremely well together. It just worked out. I don't know if I was lucky or just managed it really well, but I won pretty handily. But the AI definitely always put the pressure on, which is good, and the fact that it moves every single turn both allows you to plan some jumps since you leap over other player pieces, but it also is at a steady push that it gets further and further ahead, and you're like racing to catch up until you get ahead, and then you want to stay ahead because if it leaps you, then you're going to leap it back. The idea of putting the tokens on the board is brilliant as far as how a solo is handled, because it does, like I said, allow you to set up your actions a little bit of ahead of time by kind of placing out like the native meeples to essentially lend strength. So you're almost like getting your friends to play the cards with the right symbols you need in order for you to kind of build up your future actions. So timing plays a little bit less of effect there, but I think as a solo, it does work very well. It's not a beat your own score. It is a race against the clock, and the replayability of the cards work very well. For a multiplayer game, I do find that there is a not insignificant amount of analysis paralysis because there are just so many factors in play, especially when you're counting left and right players in terms of what symbols that they've built out or what actions you want to copy. You can definitely kind of count and see what your optimal actions are. But timing becomes so incredibly important with a multiplayer game because there comes like a kind of a cadence and flow where players are like building their cards out, and you have more and more symbols accessible to you, and then they pull them back, and all of a sudden things have dried up, and that action that allowed you to pick up 4 fur now picks up 1 fur. So timing is just so important, and leaping over each other becomes even more important in a multiplayer game, because you can kind of set things up a little bit or accidentally set things up for your opponents. And of course, there's far more churn in the card row for multiplayer. That's the only thing that's really missing in solo, is there is not quite enough churn to get more cards out. It would be nice to see more and recruit more to build your combos with your deck. I love the ability to extend your board by adding more carriers. I didn't do it a whole lot this game, but I have definitely had games where I've had an armada of space and was just recruiting people and things left, right, and center. But you do have to just so carefully manage your resources, and this is where the analysis comes in, because you don't want to take so much that you're taking all kinds of time tokens, slowing you down when you're trying to get ahead. As far as components go, the board looks great. Pieces, are functional. Cards are nice quality. Good thick tiles and whatnot. And of course, the art is just fantastic. Is your classic Vincent Dutrait artwork, where every card is just like a stunning work of, I guess you can't see it there, is a stunning work of art, and the style just fits perfectly. Theme-wise, it is very cool to see all these historical characters. Kind of, I don't know if they actively or if they accurately portray their action based on the character themselves, or rather what the person did in real life. I don't know if Joseph Whitehouse was in charge of getting tools. I don't know about that, but if you do want to learn about the characters, it is very cool how there is a kind of a short history, like a 1 or 2 sentence history of the character themselves, and these are all real people who were alive just over 200 years ago. And it's kind of amazing to think that 200 years ago we were still exploring the land in North America and had not fully crossed it yet. So it's that's very interesting. Overall, I do give this a very high recommendation. It is not too hard to teach in terms of how the actions go, but I think this game will frustrate some players who don't enjoy calculating their actions and movements and resources to such a tight degree. Obviously, the worse you calculate, the harder it is to get ahead because of the way the time markers work. So I think, the people who don't like that kind of thinky game, this is definitely not for them. Although it is relatively easy to explain and teach this game, as you saw from the explanation. It seems simple, but because of the way the adjacency markers work for gaining resources and actions and strength, this can be a fairly complicated game to actually grok or to play through. But it is still getting a very high recommendation for me. The replayability is quite large, both in terms of the solo and multiplayer. There's a stack of 54 unique cards that have some overlap in terms of abilities, but you're going to see different amounts of combos and things that you can build each game. And the cards, like I said, they're all relatively unique. And so the hand you build, the deck you build is going to be a little different each time you play. And if you really want to, you can even set up your own map and change the layout of some of the mountains and the water and the in-between spaces or the swamps or whatever, and make the game just a little bit different. So I think this is definitely going to be staying in my collection for a good while to come. And thank you for watching. Check out some of my other videos. Thanks for liking and subscribing. And I'm Will from Cardboard Minute.